Welcome to the podcast Super Friends. 5 podcast producers from across North America get together to discuss podcasting.
Welcome to this month's edition of the podcast Super Friends, 5 podcast producers that get together and chat every month. We have a very special guest today. Before we get to her, we'll go around the room with our regulars, and let's start over in Boston.
Yeah, Boston. We're getting ready for a pretty big, wicked big baseball series here in Boston, right, Jack? It's David Yaz, Boston Podcast Network, pod617.com.
Let's go down to Fort Worth.
Howdy, all. Johnny Podcast here. Very excited for today's episode. Thank you for listening.
Winnipeg.
For the last time, Matt Kendall, the Sound Off Media Company, Winnipeg, Canada, soon to be the Laurentians in Quebec.
Aha. And Baton Rouge.
Tuning in from South Louisiana's podcasting hub. Hey, I'm Catherine O'Brien.
And if I'm not mistaken, our guest today is originally a Philly girl, so we have a lot of regions covered today. She's coming to us from Israel and Riverside's headquarters. Kendall Breitman, Riverside's community lead. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. While you guys were all introducing yourselves, I was like, all right, how do I sign off? Kendall reporting from Riverside, where we have some big announcements to make today.
Woo, woo, woo. Let's start with that, Kendall. It was been teased for probably a good week or two on the Riverside platform. Tell us about today's big announcement, and I'm sure it's been a hectic day for you rolling this out.
Yeah, can you see my sweat through the screen? So we have rolled out a new era of editing within Riverside. So that's chat-based editing. Basically, you can type in any edits that you want to make, or just the general outcome that you'd like to have. Maybe make my video more engaging, something like that. Type it into an AI assistant that's built into our editor. It'll make those edits for you. So huge. It's in addition to transcript editing and timeline editing, we now have full chat-based editing. Wow. So super excited about it.
So you're going to put us all out of business is what you're saying.
No. Of course not. Of course not. Yeah. Oh, who, me?
No, I will say I watched the video. If you have a Riverside account, if you log in your Riverside account, you'll see the YouTube video right there, front and center, explaining and demoing the process. It's about a 5-minute video, and it looks really cool for folks who are doing this on a budget and or anybody really who wants to play with these new AI tools. It's really a fantastic thing. I have to give Riverside credit before I forget. I was our group representative at Podcast Movement in Dallas this year. Riverside had a booth there, very engaging. Had some great conversations with your team there, Kendall. Your competitor, who I won't mention by name, but we probably all know who that is, did not see them at Podcast Movement. So I do give you credit for having your team there and interacting with podcasters.
Thank you. Did you happen to go to our happy hour that we had there?
I missed the happy hour. I had a prior commitment, but...
Okay, it's okay. One less free drink to give out, I guess.
And what I really like about this platform is, I'll just say it, I think Riverside traditionally has really been focused on the recording piece of it. And I think, I'll just say, full disclosure, if we're talking about Squadcast/Descript would be your main competition. They have had a lot of tools in Descript in the post-editing process. And I think this announcement today really puts you, from what I've seen, right there with them in terms of the editing and maybe even ahead of them with what you're offering with the AI tools.
Yeah, so Riverside really started as local recording, so the highest quality possible recording that you can get when you're recording remote. But as we have evolved, and I've joined, I think 2.5 years ago, we have really been stepping up as far as the editor, as far as creating different assets like show notes, being able to create blog posts all within Riverside. So we've been really going live, for example, also. So going live, live streaming or webinars. But yeah, we've been adding a ton of features to the editor, and it kind of feels like every time that I refresh it, we're adding more. And so it's definitely something that has been exciting to see really evolve over time.
Kendall, can I double
go ahead, Johnny.
On the chat-based editor, that's a really unique tool that I haven't heard of any other company or any other platform doing something like this. Could you touch on sort of where the idea came from? Was this community feedback? Was this user feedback? Was this just, where do you, if you can touch on it, where did the idea come from?
So, like a lot of our ideas that are coming from Riverside, it's kind of a mix of the way that we see the industry growing, and we are really interested and always listening to what the community is asking for. So, we, as far as seeing how people are interacting with things like ChatGPT and being able to ask, I want to create, or even saying, I want a thumbnail that looks like this. Why can't we be doing that as far as editing? Like, why can't I? Well, now I can in Riverside, right? Delete the part where we were talking about watermelons in this video and then just have that be deleted. Why do I have to go through and find that part and delete it myself? So I think that it's seeing where the world is kind of going. And then we're always trying to make it easier and faster for people to edit. Or maybe like we have the royalty-free library, but maybe you don't want to sift through all of the royalty-free music that we have on there. So add a jazzy track under the part where we talk about this. So just kind of, I think a lot of it is response to how we see the industry going, but a lot of it is also a response to see how our users are using other platforms like ChatGPT, like Gemini, to do other parts of the process. So bringing it over in a whole new way to editing, it's kind of, I could never have thought of that. But then when I heard about it from product, I was like, oh yeah, that's clearly the next step that we should be going. So it's really cool.
And I think you mentioned community feedback. Johnny asked you about that. I will give you a lot of credit. The Riverside users Facebook group is very active, and I think the team from Riverside is very responsive on there. And obviously, you've got a great tech support team. You can always reach out to Riverside tech support, but then alternatively, the community on Facebook has been great too.
Thank you. I really appreciate hearing that one as the community lead. So it was really important to me when I started that I really don't like when people are like, yeah, we'll pass it along to the team. And then you're like, you're never going to pass this along to the team. So, I mean, I have like docs all throughout like my Google that are just like different features that maybe I know are coming up that I put people on lists saying, okay, let them know when that feature's out. Or we're just screenshotting and sharing different feedback that people have and feature requests all the time. And then also a lot of the people that are working at Riverside use Riverside. So then we're able to see, okay, why does it behave this way? Wouldn't it be cool if it behaves this way? So a lot of the time I think that the community comes up with really cool ideas that I wouldn't have thought of. Or if I'm editing and I've seen a request come up, I'm like, oh yeah, I want that too. So yeah, it's cool to really be able to interact with people. I selfishly think that I have the best job at Riverside just because I get to talk with people all the time and then really see their feedback when we announce new features like this, hearing how much it's helped them, how much it makes their editing faster, whatever it is, it's gratifying. So yeah.
Before we go any further, does this AI feature have a cute name? That is my pressing question on this.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you in on the secret. It's called the AI co-creator. So, but I will say that within the marketing team, we call it Coco. And I don't know where that came from, but it just like, we just started calling it. We're just like, hey, is the Coco social post ready? And it just kind of evolved. So internally, Coco. Externally, co-creator.
I think Coco is too cute to keep just internal. I think that this could
we're
be
gonna call
a
it
soft
Coco.
launch for the Coco.
As I like to say in the community, I'm going to pass that feedback on to the team.
How long has Coco been incubating?
So Coco, let me talk about Coco's journey. So Co-Creator it started in our project page. So what it started as is like podcasters, creators are asked to do a million things. So you're not only asked to create content, now you have to, if you really want it to succeed, you need to make a million posts about it. You need to make captions, you need to make a blog post and a newsletter, and then you need to make yourself go crazy because that's a lot of stuff to do. So it started as kind of we use it for marketing assets, and it's in our project page. So you can in the beginning and still go into it and say, write me a blog post based on this topic that we talked about, or take the top insights from the transcript and write a LinkedIn post, a LinkedIn caption, something like that. So the idea here was a lot of creators, we were saying, were taking their AI generated transcript, putting it into ChatGPT, and then asking it to do things like the blog post, the newsletter. But in that case, if we have the transcript, why do we then make you have to copy it, split it up if you don't have if you only have the free version of ChatGPT and then have to go to another site? Why can't you just do that right in Riverside? So that's kind of how it started of being able to make those marketing promotional assets. And then from there, when we were seeing how helpful it was and even generating YouTube thumbnails, like how much people were using it and enjoying it, we're like, okay, what can the next step be here? So one of the tedious things about creating, I know as producers, you probably hear this all the time from your clients and also the experience it yourself, is creating all of those promotional materials. Okay, what's another part that can be a bit tedious and laborious? Editing. So why not be able to use that same kind of framework to edit and give people that option? Because there's still timeline editing, there's still transcript editing. I personally am a timeline person. I don't know about you all here. Probably, right?
Yeah.
Timeline
Oh,
people. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm a timeline person, but even to use the chat-based editing as a starting point and then go in and have that full control is just, it's a cool jumping off point.
I'll second that because I think there are a lot of times where if you've recorded the podcast with a client, there's a big long aside or even before using Coco to find the fluff as we say in Riverside. Sometimes I know, okay, I want to get rid of that, I want to get rid of that, I want to get rid of that, and then you can do the more granular timeline edit. Would you say, Kendall, and we're early in the process here, but if you're doing things like show notes, transcript, give me insights, LinkedIn post, like you said, I would assume it's better to make some edits and get rid of that fluff before you ask the AI to summarize everything, so that fluff isn't in what it's pulling from, I'd imagine.
So there are, if you're using show notes, for example,
Yeah.
you can, once you have the edited version, you can generate the show notes based on that edited version.
Okay.
So in that case, you get all the time codes, you get all of the obviously the transcript, all of that based on that edited version. So what I'll usually do is I'll use the show notes in the beginning to pull keywords for if I'm going to put it on YouTube, something like that. Maybe some sound bites because we generate some of the best sound bites. And then as far as chapter time codes, transcript, all of that, the actual summary show note, I will take that from the edited version.
You mentioned, sorry, go ahead, Kendall.
Oh, no, so this also is nice to have co-creator in the editor because you make all of those edits, and then it used to be that you would, like the old co-creator that was just in the project page, it was pulled from your original transcript. Now, when you've fully edited your work and then say, write me show notes from this in the editor, it's based off of that edited product. So you're able to get exactly what you want.
Kendall, you mentioned early, like when you first started talking about co-creator, one of the prompts as an example that you gave was make this episode more exciting. I wanted to just ask about how advanced that editing power is, because just for example, let's just say in a typical interview style episode, the host would ask the guest, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. And we do 5 minutes of their background. And then we actually get into the details of their industry, what they do for work, what they're seeing in X industry going on today. That's a typical kind of interview. Would the co-creator editor be able to analyze that episode and go, hey, background is kind of boring to have at the beginning. Let's pick up those 5 minutes, drop it near the end, and then push up all of this more interesting stuff to the beginning? Or is it just, hey, there was the 5-minute bathroom break, we're cutting that out, and I'm co-creators asking that? Like, what can you go into a little more detail of make this episode more exciting, what the co-creator would go ahead and do?
Yeah. So we all know AI and these AI chats. So the more specific you get with it, the better it's going to be. So if you actually take out the chat about the background and move it to halfway through the episode, you can do something like that.
Okay.
But if you just write something like make it more exciting, just myself, because I'm more of a picky person, I'd probably go into like a longer prompt, because then you're not being as specific as I think that you should be, especially when you're prompting AI. But if you say make it more engaging, what that's going to do is it's going to add dynamic scenes. It can add your branding, maybe add captions to that, just so that there's a lot more movement rather than just like the one person on screen talking. It'll have more of a dynamic movement of switching between grid, full screen, screen share, or whatever you're doing more dynamically. And then, adding your branding, adding overlays. You can add it you can ask it specifically, like add B-roll to the parts where we're talking about this. And but I think that if you just say make it more engaging, you're probably just gonna get
right. And that's with any LLM. Yeah, that's really great clarification. And then the other thing I wanted to ask was, is it just adding and editing, or is there any kind of audio function as well where you could say, hey, Coco, please clean up the audio from the guest. It sounds terrible.
I love that we're all calling it Coco now. So you can say clean up the audio and it'll apply different. So we have EQ within the editor. We added it, I think, a few months ago. Everything's kind of flying by now. We also have magic audio, so it's you're able to clean up you're able to like clean up the background noise. And we have something called Smart. So no, it was we've changed the name on this. But basically, you can cut out the times where people are not speaking. Smart mute. There it goes.
Yeah.
You can, if you're not speaking, if you have a guest on, then they're not speaking, but they have like an annoying fan whirring behind them. It can cut out all the times where they're not speaking and mute them so that you won't get that background noise on your audio, for example. So it'll apply a mix of those features to give you the best sounding audio if you ask it to improve the audio. But then again, you can say, we have, for example, EQ presets. So I want this audio to sound more like this or like that. You can apply those presets. So based on the prompt that you give it, yes, it doesn't just work for video. It also works on helping improve your audio.
Catherine, you were going to jump with the question?
Thank you. Thank you, Jag. I will remember it right now. Yes, I will. So a lot of it with the excitement that we were talking about, the making it more engaging, that's relying on a lot of visual elements. But you brought in the next level, which is because we all know that the sound quality is incredibly important, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
So can you maybe just tell us a little bit more about some of the magic audio features? I know you covered it here just a moment ago, but maybe dive in a little bit more. What are some of the other things that Coco can do there?
Yeah. So for example, we got magic audio. Basically what that was created to do is that if you are, for example, maybe you're recording and you didn't use a microphone, you used your laptop microphone, but that's not going to cut it for a podcast.
Well,
and I know
let's
that
say
all
our
of you
guest might do
producers
that.
here
Our
are gonna be
guest
like,
might do that, not us.
No, yes, that's what, yes. I was going to say all of you producers in here are probably like, no. So that was created to be able to make that sound as good as possible with their audio. So, and then as time's gone on with Magic Audio, what we've done is being able to apply. We have a slider that you can use so that you can apply how much intensity for Magic Audio.
How much
you
magic
so
do you want here?
How much magic do you want to sprinkle on this? Exactly. So you can apply Magic Audio and that smart mute that I talked about, also some of those EQ presets, but there's also graphic EQ. I mean, you can go in and be able to really tinker with that and make sure it sounds exactly like you'd want it to. But then as far as other audio settings, I mean, you can have it remove silences, you can have it remove ums and ahs, filler words.
Ooh.
But a really cool thing that we rolled out that I, as like somebody that edits my content myself also, is that we added a like kind of a mix for filler word removal, because if anyone's ever used those AI filler word removals, it can get a little bit choppy.
Yeah.
So what it started to do is that it will, for long ums and ahs, it will cut those. But if you're just doing a quick it'll mute it. Because if I'm saying and like in the video, you can't really see me doing that, and it's muted, it makes it just flow so much better. And I've found with audio, it makes it sound so much better to like, rather than these kind of jumpy cuts, that it just mutes it. So we have that, and yeah, it applies a different mix, and you can even say, oh, that sounds a bit too XYZ. Can you please change it to this? And it'll apply those changes.
Oh.
And yeah, as far as audio, that's
I know
what you
sometimes
Very good.
those AI enhancements across platforms will make it a little bit muddy sounding. So maybe I like having that extra control over the EQ.
Exactly. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of the Riverside AI tools, is that like at the end of the day, we're creating something that you are using to create something that you're passionate about. So I feel like I could speak for a lot of creators. I don't want to just fully give my creative work to AI and say, do all of this. I still want to be able to go through and say, okay, you remove that and ah, but I actually want that one. Take it back. Or, okay, you're going to apply this magic audio. I want to lower the intensity of it. Or you're going to apply AI layouts and scenes. Okay, but I want to add another scene here. So all of these features still give you the control to either change them a bit or add your own. And so I think that's important as you're adding features to something like podcasting, which is such a creative outlet.
And are there improvements? I think you alluded to this a moment ago to visual as well. Like, I mean, you probably can't get this granular, but I know, like, for example, I have a glare coming off my bald head, which comes from the light above me and the window over there. Like, I may not be able to do that, but are there things, or if this audio is really dark or this audio is over bright, or can it make any kind of image enhancements yet, or is that still being worked on?
So that is something that I will just say is we are always listening to community feedback, and that has definitely been
Coco
something
is
that we
thinking
hear
about.
about from the community.
Coco's really thinking about
And
that
so-
one.
Coco's processing it.
But
So
for now, Riverside's just going to mail you a hat, Jag.
yeah. We do have Riverside hats if you want. Yeah,
I have
we'll
this.
talk
I got a
about it.
shirt at Podcast Movement. I have to get a hat to go with it.
We're gonna talk about hats after. You might have. Did you not get a tote bag? You should have gotten a tote bag.
There were
Should've
tote
gone to happy
bags?
hour.
Yeah, we got a tote bag, and I'm really proud because I thought of the thing to write on it. It says, "I'll handle it in post," which
Oh,
is something that I like to
come
say. Thank
That's,
you.
that's
It's
like Jag's slogan.
What?
Really. I like to say
Bury it
that
in
when I'm like
post.
in random conversation with people who like wouldn't understand the joke. I'll be like, I'll handle it in post.
That's great. I like it.
But I'll just say that that's something that we definitely know is a very requested feature. And so when something's a very requested feature, we like to work on it. And once different features come out in Riverside, they're going to be available within Co-Creator. So, yes.
David raised his hand.
Yes. I have a 4-part question. No,
Wow.
I've been taking.
Let's break it down. I'm going to be
This
like,
is why
oh,
we're not
there's one
doing it
part?
live. If Kendall doesn't want to answer any of the 4 parts, we can get it out in post.
And in the next episode, you'll find Kendall answering the 5th one.
I've been pretty patient so far. No, these are like, they're kind of nitpicky in the weeds questions. That's why I just jotted them down. But so with the Magic Audio, have you tested it? Will it eliminate music? Like if you have intro music running below someone's speech? I've had a problem with that other tools where you got to like go back and put the music in later. Is that a thing?
So Magic Audio can be applied track by track. And so how the Riverside editor works is you have, let's say, 2 tracks, and then under it, you have the music track. So unless your music is like playing in the background of you speaking on your microphone, it should not do that. So yeah, it's track by track rather than like kind of going through the whole thing.
Well, Kendall, I have this music podcast, and which is a running joke on this show.
That he brings.
No. I hear you. Sometimes I record, quote unquote, live with the music playing and the speakers.
Use the media board. We have a media board in Riverside, and then it's its own file also.
Interesting.
And that shouldn't happen. And if it does, you can reach out to me, and I'll have my team look
Get
into
Coco
it.
on it.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen.
This is more of a.
I'll have my people look into it.
So just a couple more super quick questions, but can it do something like on a video if you just say add the titles anytime this guy is speaking, have his title appear beneath?
I believe that it can. That's actually not one that I've tried so far, but I believe that it can. I also will say that if it can't right now, which I think that it can, if it can't right now, like what we've currently just put out is going with as all AI is going to be like the first version of something that's going to grow.
It's the
very
worst
quickly.
version we'll ever see of it. It's only going to get better.
Exactly. So if it does it right now, I feel like you can just check back in like another week and then it'll do it. So yeah.
I'm sorry, Kendall. Did you have something else there? No.
Okay. That was it. Keep going.
Just to follow up to
number 3.
Yeah, I canceled number 4, by the way. Or maybe I'll do that one
you could
later.
ask,
so we're on the left. All right, well, fine. But you mentioned the technique of taking out the ums and uhs in videos, muting instead of cutting. That's when editing video. To me, that's always going to be a little bit of dilemma. I mean, personally, I try to limit the amount of cuts I make in video at all. And when I do want to take out, like if someone says 3 times in a row, it's like, no, that's terrible. Let's take that out. I'll do like a crossfade on the cut so that it, or like a quick dissolve or something so that it doesn't just look like. So the other day I went to school and, like that, so
16-year-old in the bedroom.
So could you instruct Coco to every time you take out an I'm going to create a fade
like a visual
transition?
transition.
Yeah.
I am not sure if you can or cannot. I will look into that and get
Send
back
me
to
a
you.
hat.
But again, yeah, send you a hat. And if it does not yet, again, then you'll be able to do that very soon. But I will say that we have transitions in the editor. And so you could do that fade in, fade out. One thing that I like to do, I don't know if you guys are doing it too, but I really like to, I don't really like a jump cut. Like I'll do like a quick zoom in for those kinds of things. So for if I cut out an or something and it like just looks really choppy, we have cropping, so you can do like a zoom in for like a scene and then have it zoom back out. And I'm seeing it more on social media with like clips and things, but I've been having a lot of fun doing that. So that's just my side note.
As a quick side note to that, Dave, I have started playing with, if somebody does say their lips don't always move that much. So muting the in the video might be easier than you think. I would suggest playing around with that. I've just started doing that
mute the
myself.
audio.
Yeah, because when somebody's like you can't, you just think that I just sat there with my mouth agape, maybe in shock of excitement.
Yes.
Well, and it's like the thing that Matt always says, Kendall, on the show is, even we're always talking about putting the podcast on YouTube, and video is so important. The majority of people are putting the podcast on and putting their phone in their pocket and going about their day and listening to it. So it's a lot fewer people than we think are actually sitting down with a bucket of popcorn and watching two talking heads on their TV.
Or 6 in this case.
Yeah.
I have one follow-up comment. Jag, will you entertain one follow-up comment? Because you talk about fixing something
that has 4 parts. Yes. Go ahead.
No, this is just
follow-up has 4 parts.
I'm just
3.1.
Yeah.
All right. Not you guys.
Hey, let David say his 4 points.
All of you guys see me after class, except Kendall. Thank you. And when you say in the music industry, people used to always say similar, we'll bury it in post. That later became known as a Wilbury, which led to the name of the band, the Traveling Wilburys. Oh. Thank you. This is the kind of information you get on my podcast. Thank you.
Everybody take a shot.
Wow, that was great. Yeah. And let me know Kendall, if you use Magic Audio and it deletes that beautiful sound, because we got to have that in there. Got to have it.
I'll send you a hat.
Kendall, I wanted to ask about the...
Wait, did David have one more point before Johnny jumped in?
No. I'm good.
Okay.
I wanted to ask about the browsers for Riverside. So it's always recommended that it's Chrome or Microsoft Edge is sort of the... When you go online, it's like, but I'm sure there's more.
We have Safari now.
So thank you. Great. Safari's great. That's wonderful. That's huge. I was going to ask how difficult, because it clearly has to be super difficult to try and get this to all work on different browsers, or else it would kind of just be automatically available on all browsers. Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, so that's why it had taken a while to get it onto Safari, because we don't want to put something out that isn't working as well on one browser as it is on another. So for a while, we were also offering for Mac users that we have a native Mac app. So you could use that and use that to record. As far as the editor, you'd still have to go into the browser. But I think that is something that we were working on for a while, and I'm happy that we were able to deliver it to the Safari users. I myself am a Google Chrome girl, but to each their own. It's okay.
Interestingly enough, your team at the booth at Podcast Movement, I was having an issue using Riverside on Chrome, where when I would log into a session as a host or as a producer, there'd be a good 30-second delay before I pop up and everybody would pop up. And they suggested it could be an ad block, or it could be any of those things. And so they said, if it doesn't work, use it in Edge. And again, I use Chrome 99.5% of my day. But I'm trying to remember to use Edge, and I opened it up in Edge, and it worked flawlessly. So if anybody listening or watching has an issue with Chrome, I would say try Edge, or if you're a Mac user, try Safari too. It seems to work well on those platforms as well.
Yeah, well, I used to use Edge when I was using Riverside, because before I got this fancy little camera, I used to use my phone, even for like Riverside recordings. So I would record it using my phone and do continuity camera. So because then it connects to your Mac. But it wasn't working in Google Chrome. And then I was looking online to see what's going on. And I saw that people were saying that continuity camera in general works better with Edge. So I was using it with Edge. So for a while I was using Edge just for Riverside because of continuity camera, and apparently it works better there. So if you also want to record with your camera, because you have a really great phone, right, and a really great camera right in your pocket, I messed that up. If you want to record with your phone, because you have a really great camera right in your pocket, you could use that and try it out with Edge, because it works really well.
follow up to that, because I'm a Windows user, so I don't have the continuity app for Mac. I use a Logitech Brio, and when I log in, it says it can't do 4K because there's an issue with Logitech Brio, so we're recording you in 1080, which is fine for the most part. I'm wrestling with the idea of using the Riverside app as a second camera on my phone versus just come Black Friday dropping the $1,000 on a mirrorless camera and just using that. Is there a recommendation one way or the other on that, or is it just to each his or her own?
I would say that I recorded for months using just my phone, and the quality was really incredible. So it's a little trick that I recommend to a lot of people is if you want to just use a second camera, especially if you're going to be making these cuts. I used to work in news and as a television producer. And so I know that second camera is just the secret ingredient for getting rid of so many of those cuts that you kind of dread, rather than having to do the zoom in, like I was saying. So that or your tablet, but I would say iPhone is one of my most recommended cameras that I tell people to use.
Kendall, you're the community lead. And so when you have a big launch like this, which is the day before October 1st, and you've got users who log on every day to record something, but you've also got some twice a week, and then you got some weekly people, and then you've got, bi-weekly and monthly. How long do you figure it takes for everybody to sort of catch up and get on the same page with something that is so incredibly new, as what you're launching today?
Great question.
Yeah, so it depends on the feature, because a lot of the time, this one's big. So we have a banner in the website, we have emails going out, we have it in the community, we have it on social. So like you're saying, it could be that somebody is scrolling through social and follows us and sees it. It could be that a month from now, they go into their editor and they see that there's something new within it. We do keep the website banner up for a little while, just so that we get as many people as possible to know about these updates. And we're putting them on our emails. But then there are other features, for example, with, let's say, eye contact correction that we added. That isn't getting this banner or that kind of treatment that this feature like this is getting. And so there are so many features like that we're announcing on social media, and we're announcing always in our community. So you should join our community on Facebook, Conversation Creators by Riverside. And so you will get those features there, and you'll be able to see them under what's new. But that's kind of what I think is the challenge for community management, but also what I think is very cool about Riverside is that every time that you go in, and even if you go in every day, there are just all of these kind of hidden functionalities, so you can learn more and more about it as you go, which also means that I always just joke to people that I recommend always clicking the 3 dots on everything that you see. For example, there's in the transcript, if you highlight something and you click the 3 dots, you can make a clip out of just what you highlighted. Those little functionalities that's one of my favorite features. You can just use to really create content even faster. It's hard to, especially as often as we're putting things out, it's hard to continue to keep people updated and that they see all of those updates. So yeah, that's definitely, you've really hit the nail on the head for a challenge that I have. It's a good one to have though. To feel like there's so much that you just have to keep telling people about
let's look at a community as being a town, right? You've essentially moved the bar to another part of town, and people have to go find the bar.
Yeah, and so right now, as we speak, people are just wandering around the streets, but we're going to have them find the bar. And we're going to put a sign, and we're going to email them, even though if they're finding a bar, they're probably not checking their email. And if they are, that's strange, but that's okay.
You've renamed the bar to Coco's.
Yeah, Coco's place.
Oh, nicely done.
It's Coco's downtown. It used to be Coco's uptown, but it's downtown now.
We're all downtown now.
Nice.
Kendall, I have to admit, I sort of slept on some of the community resources of Riverside. And then finally, I don't know, it was an email or something started penetrating through. Since you are the community lead, can you give us a little bit, maybe what is your favorite community resource? And from your position, what are you seeing that podcasters are really looking for? What is the demand out there?
Okay, so, wow, it's asking me to choose a favorite child. I only have one child, so for now that's easy. But I would say that one of my favorite resources, we actually have a community hub. And I have two. I'm going to give you two favorites. One is our community hub. And within our community hub, I have teamed up with different creators in our community, and they make different guides. So for example, a podcast launch checklist that you can go through if you're launching your podcast and check off each box, or monetization ideas that you can use. So different creators have basically just created these PDFs with me that you can download and use as checklists and as guides for your own creative processes. That is one. So whenever I get to collaborate with creators. But then another one that I love is that we have a workshop series. So basically what I've been finding within the community is that a lot of people want to hear from other creators what they're doing. Yeah. And that's how they get inspired. That's what they care about. That's what makes them better creators. And that's always the goal. So what we started to do is I'll find a creator that's like, hey, I have this really cool workflow. Great. Let's have you on for a workshop. It's just me. And instead of being this, like, I feel like usually webinar is like with the CEO of such and such. Instead, it's me with a creator from the community that has a really cool process or idea, and they get to share it, and community members get to ask each other questions about it. It just is really approachable, and people seem to really like it. So as far as your second question, which is what people are looking to learn.
Oh, just sort of like what is the vibe from your like what is the biggest demand from the podcast community? Well, and actually let me say this. What you were just saying, I think that there's one of the things we've tackled as the podcast Super Friends is that there seems to be a little bit of a divide. Like that is not a surprise to me that creators want to hear from other creators, like what really works, because there was a lot of maybe they say was not road tested. So I think that there is a little bit more credibility especially in podcasting from what is working from other podcasters. So maybe from your position, I was thinking, what do you see as the hot issue, the hot demand kind of amongst the actual podcasters?
And I will also say that it's not just what are other creators doing and what's working. It's like, what are other creators doing that don't have the funds to hire a gigantic team? Maybe they have one, like a producer or an editor or something like that. Maybe they're just working by themselves. But I do think like we're seeing at like conferences and things like that there are people that are giving suggestions that you're like, but how am I as a hobbyist or as somebody that's kind of doing this on my own or has one person helping me out with this, like how am I supposed to compete with that? It can be really discouraging. So I think that that's really important conversation to continue to have in the industry. I would also say that kind of on that note, the thing that I'm hearing from a lot of people is that podcasting, if you really want it to succeed, and success is, relative and different for every person, but like succeed in the way of gaining a ton of new listeners and monetizing and all of that, everyone's like, you need to have a newsletter. You also need to have a blog. You need to be embedding your video into the blog. You should be having clips that go out once every other day on all platforms and responding to them. You should also have some 10-minute segments of your show. Like, how it's crazy. And then like, but what do you focus on? What's the most important thing? There is no secret formula. So I think that that's just like, I went to the podcast show in London, and every single person that I talked to at one point mentioned like repurposing. I know I have to get better at repurposing, or I've been trying to do repurposing, like to repurpose more. And it's just, everyone knows they have to do it. But I think the real question is, what exactly and how am I supposed to do all this? Because people get into this because they love the conversation part. Right. And people ask me all the time, like, oh, why don't you have like a kind of a hobby podcast myself? And I'm like, 'cause I think a lot of people jump into podcasts because they're like, oh, well, I love this and I want to talk about it. And then they kind of find out about all the things after. But I am too aware of all the things after. So I'm like,
I think one of the most disheartening...
But I mean, schools like Riverside make it easy.
One of the most disheartening moments of this podcast was when Matt said a couple episodes ago, you really should be spending as much time promoting as your podcast as you are recording and editing it. And I think everybody's heart just kind of sank. So your point is really well taken, Kendall.
Because people are like, I want to start a podcast that I can post on social media, or like so that I can write that blog. Like they want to have a podcast because they want to have those conversations, and it's cool to have that blog on top of it. But yeah, it's hard for people to balance, rightfully so. I mean,
So
a lot of
Kendall,
them have day jobs too.
Yeah.
I do remember when we met in London, and there was a lot of talk about video, a lot of cameras for sale. We did not see a YouTube presence. I went to Calgary on the last weekend to a podcast conference, and YouTube was there, and they gave a 1 hour chit chat about some of the best practices. And they did really profess a lot of the things that sort of come down to pressure. Yes, it's a good idea to do shorts. Yes, your channel should look like this. They talk about A/B testing some artwork, as it were. They're launching a tool now for different languages. You can turn your video into different languages. So
You could do that on Riverside also.
What's that?
You can do that on Riverside now too. There's AI translation.
Yes.
Interesting.
And they're
Dios
going to be
mío.
moving into dubbing. And so I guess you guys obviously pay attention to YouTube. And when we talk about video, we often are really saying YouTube, even though the video can appear on X and Facebook. But how much do you pay attention to what YouTube does? That's part one of the question. And then the other one is
A
how
lot.
much do we need to also, dispel what YouTube says? Because what YouTube tells creators to do is what's best for YouTube necessarily. Because like you mentioned, I don't have time to do 5 different types of videos
Yeah.
for my show.
So, okay, I'm going to say the answer is how much do we look at it? A lot. How much should be creators looking at it? I think a lot as well. And I'm saying it because the people who care about YouTube is also Google. And so Google is looking at YouTube and also has an interest itself to send people to YouTube. And so if you're following YouTube's best practices and you want to show up on search, for example, it's good to be doing YouTube's best practices and showing that you're a channel that is, the best practices, if you think about it, are really just doing a lot of stuff on YouTube. The YouTube's going to tell you the best practice is that you want to create shorts and you want to post them often, you want to engage. You also want to create 10-minute segments and have that kind of thing. You want to A/B test. Like they want you to use all the different features because that shows that you're engaging and on the platform and that you'll continue to be. But also because search is so important. So that's one, because Google search matters so much. But also because I know you guys know this, but the problem with audio podcasts right now is that discoverability is bad. Just trying to think of a nicer word, is not good. So basically, there's no one's going into Apple Podcasts and writing Eagles game, I guess, a recap. I don't know. You mentioned I'm from Philly, so it was in my head.
There it is.
But people are going into YouTube and writing that.
Right.
So
Tush push.
YouTube, YouTube is becoming its own search engine where we're not seeing audio podcasts working in that same way. So I would pay attention to YouTube for discoverability, just because the platform's kind of built around that, where Apple and Spotify, not as much.
Thank
I
you for
ask-
that therapy.
Can I do a community feedback for Kendall from a producer? So I was DMing with Nadav a few months ago about this, and unfortunately we didn't get anywhere on it. I know he's extremely busy, but basically, what a lot of us do here as Riverside users is we will join the call, we will join the recording beforehand. So I will jump on a call with the client that I work with, who is the host, and I'll work with the guest. The guest is more than likely not going to have a microphone, and if they do, it's not correctly inputted. They don't have their headphones ready. Their
I was gonna say,
lighting
they
sucks.
definitely
So
don't have headphones.
there's a lot of things that we have to fix beforehand. And what was a really useful tool, I want to say maybe a year ago, was all plans offered the producer link, where I just have the link saved. I join the call. With newer users, as I onboard more and more clients to Riverside, that feature seems to have gone away and is only available to the enterprise or the business accounts, which are, the jump from pro to business is significant, and the majority of the people that we're working with don't need that. So one of the feedback that I had was just bringing back that producer link so that we're able to see the inputs. I can see that your microphone is set correctly. Yes, we can work around it by joining as a guest, and we can kind of just eyeball it and walk them through it and that way. But that was just my piece of feedback, is that the producer link is extremely valuable to nearly everybody that's not on the business or the enterprise accounts.
Yeah, I hear you. And I also think that it's important because we really care a lot about the producers that are using Riverside, because you're also bringing clients over, and it's also just a testament to producers that they're using Riverside, because they know that it's high quality and that you're able to get a lot more out of it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to pass that along to the team.
And to
I'm
follow
glad
up,
you mentioned that, Johnny, because I couldn't remember if that issue had been resolved or not, because I wrote it down on the sheet
I had
today.
it written down too.
And I think I mentioned to you. Okay, good.
Oh, awesome. Well,
It's,
I'm gonna let them. I'm gonna let them know that we got a few requests from that.
All right,
It's fair.
so to dovetail off of what Johnny asked, so yes, to clarify, you can actually send a producer link. I actually worked with a client this morning where they sent me the producer link, and I hopped on for that part of the call. But I think for me, the deeper issue is, and Matt mentioned barrier to entry a moment ago, is there are some services where you can create a second user and have that second user go in. For a lot of my clients that are on their own Riverside plans and they create their own podcast, if I want to go in and I want to take advantage of all these amazing tools we've been talking about today, the only way, aside from like Johnny said, the really steep jump to the business plan, I have to have them share their username and password with me, log in as them, and access all these tools. And you're nodding like you maybe have an alternative suggestion for me, and if you do, I'm all for it.
We added an editor add-on, so you can now your clients can choose the editor add-on, and then you're able to add a seat to your account, so you can go in, access those files, be able to edit within Riverside. And so we hear you.
That is a game
She
changer.
heard you before
for me.
you even said it. It's already
Yeah, really.
done.
Yeah, we
No, that's a
just
game
talked
changer
about it
for
at the
me.
pool table outside.
That's funny.
Thank
yeah,
you.
no,
That was
it's
one of my
definitely
biggest
something
questions.
that was. Sorry.
I was going to say that was one of my biggest questions going into this conversation. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that a big thing here again is that if your client is using Riverside, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to also be able to access their files. And so it's easier then for you as a producer to say, hey, you should be using Riverside to do that, So the easier that we can make to share files and for you to be able to access them, the better. So yeah, we have the editor add-on in now, and you can add an editor and add a seat to your studio.
And that's on all plans, or even that $30 a month base plan?
It's an add-on, so you have to pay extra for that, but I hope to have some updates soon with that one.
Before we completely leave Google and YouTube, I was wondering if you could just speak for a moment on what do podcasters need to know about live streaming? So I noticed for signing into my own Riverside account, one day it was like, yes, Riverside can be your live streaming platform. Back to our earlier conversation about maybe podcasters being very we were married to our audio for a very long time, embracing video. Now I'm seeing that Riverside is offering live streaming. What do you want podcasters to know about live streaming?
So live streaming, I think that a lot of the time lately, I'm hearing that people are saying that that's like their next step. So maybe they're doing audio, like you were saying, and then, okay, I started doing video. And now, like, my next thing that I want to try to do is go live. So I would say that a big thing about going live is that you get that audience engagement. So it's a fun way to be able to interact directly with your audience, to be able to have them ask questions. If you have a guest on, that's really nice. But I would also encourage you as a creator, for anyone watching, to try going live and just being able to have conversations with people, because you could be having guests on your show, but at least I'm going to speak for myself here. I listen to the podcast that I love for the host, and it's cool, the guests that they have on, but I love the way that the host asks questions. I come back to hear them. And so to be able to make yourself more accessible, to be able to interact directly with people that are following your show, I think is just a really cool way of like the cool next step of building community. If you don't want to just like put yourself out live there on social media, maybe that's a little bit intimidating for you for the first time. I've heard a lot of creators are doing it with maybe Patreon members that they have, doing a live community session with them. And it's just a really fun way to be able to interact with people. Like at Riverside, we have kind of a coffee with creator session, and we just talk about different things that we care about for that month. And it really makes my day just to even have these fun conversations with people. So live doesn't have to be, here are my slides and let me tell you about this. Live can be, I'm going to go live right now. Like, hey, this breaking news just happened in the industry that I podcast about. I'm going to go live and talk about it. Or, hey, Supercast, Patreon fans, we're going to do a live chat where I can hear your feedback and we can all talk together about the show that we watched together. Something like that it could be just a really cool new thing for you to try.
Excellent answer.
I'm glad you
I'll
mentioned
say
about-
that. Sorry,
I was
I'll
gonna say,
wrap
did
that
you
up.
like the- did you-
Excellent answer. And I do think it's interesting that it's seeing like the next step. I've actually seen live streamers who they say that they think the future is live is going to be more of the thing, and some of these other elements, the podcast, the blog, the videos, the clips, are going to be a little bit downstream from that. So that's kind of where my question came from.
Well, also, I mean, again, when we were talking about YouTube before, about like you want to play into what YouTube wants, it's very obvious right now that all of these platforms want people to go live. And you know that because I'm sitting there on my couch at night and I get like a message saying, this brand is going live on Instagram right now. So obviously, Instagram cares about you watching their live. So if you're playing into these apps and their algorithms and showing them that you care about what they care about, they push your stuff more. So same thing with YouTube. So-and-so is going live. You get these notifications. So it's also kind of where the industry is going. And I think that going live can be a next step. But I also think that a lot of people see it as scary because it's live. Yeah. But I almost think that being live is almost more forgiving. So like, for example, I stupidly got a new camera right before one of these webinars that I had, and it shut off in the middle and it just showed like the Rode X, Streamer X thing. And so these are all creators that are watching, but then we were like laughing along. I'm like, oh, hold on. And like, if that happened during like a pre-recorded thing and people were listening, they'd be like, why did she keep this in her video? But it's nice for live. It's just, it's a bit more, not more human, because I think podcasting is very human, but it's a little bit more forgiving, I guess, which maybe is less human. Who knows? Are humans forgiving?
So one piece of feedback that I have from creators when it comes to going live, I was talking about the producer one, just, if I had to come over to Riverside, but I don't know that a lot of people know that Riverside can do the live thing. It's an extra $10 a month, I believe, if you want to get access to the live tools. But I do know that price has now become a fleeting point for that other place, which raised their prices to astronomical levels. So, and the question people ask me is like, well, if I go to Riverside, where can I stream live to? So where can you?
Yeah. So I was just laughing because half of you are naming this Voldemort competitor, and then the other half are not. And so I was just laughing at that. I wasn't.
I don't
laughing at the
care. I
pricing.
just called them
this
out.
one,
Yeah.
Listen, it's StreamYard. They raised their prices by 40%. I don't know who gets to do that, but they did it. And I know a lot of creators went looking for a new place to do their stuff, and I recommended Riverside would be certainly a place that they could continue to do their work affordably.
And Squadcast to Script is doing something with pricing soon as well, for changing their plans as well. So it's happening across the industry.
Yeah. I would say that to answer your question about live streaming, you can live stream too, and I hope I don't miss one here. So first of all, you could live stream directly into Riverside. And so there's an audience link that you could send out. And so people can chat and be in the audience watching you there. So that's what I love to use. But you could also live stream to YouTube, Twitter/X, Facebook, both groups and pages, Twitch, TikTok, I believe. And you can go to Instagram using a custom RTMP. You could also even you can even live stream to your own website using a custom RTMP. So we have, did I say LinkedIn?
Ooh.
So basically you can go to all the social channels using Riverside. And then when you're live streaming, you have live chat and it's multi-channel. So I could see all of my chats in one place. So I did a webinar yesterday that was on YouTube and on Riverside. I could see all of the chats there and respond to them. You can do image overlays there. So if I want to have my own custom branding and some just like an image that I created that says Riverside or whatever I wanted to say, I could do that. You could switch up layouts. You can add media. There's a ton that you can do right through Riverside. And then when you are multi-streaming, you could do it in up to 1080p live. So really, it's a really cool, impressive, powerful feature.
Nice.
And if that wasn't enough, you can also host the podcast on Riverside.
Yeah. Well, that is something that, so yeah, you got recording, editing, just the promotion, all of that. And then right now, what you could do is you can host new podcasts on Riverside. I'm saying new podcasts because right now you can't take a existing RSS feed and move it into Riverside. So it would be for new podcasts, but we're always iterating, developing, so stay tuned.
I'm sure. Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm sure there's some announcement that we should stay tuned for regarding that.
There's always an announcement to stay tuned for, and that's why you should join the Riverside community group.
I was gonna ask that one thing, Kendall. You said the hub was the really important, like your most valuable resource. Where can the public find that?
So that's riverside.com/community.
Okay.
And I say .com because you might not have noticed, but riverside.fm became Riverside. You can do riverside.com now. Very exciting moment for us.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, but so you can find that. You could also find all of our webinars and workshops at riverside.com/webinars. And I mean, I picked those as the kind of the two of my favorites that I think are really valuable, but there's just, I mean, if you go to our community group, there are a ton of different resources that you can use. I think that you guys would be interested in this, and I'll reach out to you about it. But I'm right now working on a directory of different podcast professionals so that you can advertise your service to community members, but that also community members can find people to help them with their creation process. So a win-win for different people in our community. So it's all about just being able to help people create whatever they want to create and do whatever they're passionate about. So that's always the goal.
We are right
That's
at
amazing.
about an hour, and I think we've had an extensive, very informative conversation. I don't want to cut anybody off. Anybody had any other follow-up questions? Or Kendall, is there anything that you wanted to hit on that we have not asked you about at this point?
I want to be a podcast super friend. This is fun, guys. Yeah, have me on more. Yeah, would love this. Especially with my new studio, with all my IKEA curtains that I've hung to diffuse the light.
We really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's been a really busy day for you with the rollout of Coco in chat-based editing. So we want to thank you for spending some time with us today. Anything you want to plug, or ways people can reach out to you, or Facebook group, or anything like that you want to plug before we wrap up, Kendall?
Yeah, so our official community group is Conversation Creators by Riverside on Facebook. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. But yeah, I would recommend really going and trying chat-based editing, and we're going to continue to develop it over time. It's just going to continue to get better and better, like all AI features do. So keep checking back, keep checking the community, because if you can believe it, we have even more to announce in the coming days, because there's always new features being added there.
Excellent. Let's go around the room. We'll start in Baton Rouge.
And I just want to say, I know we're recording today. Today is International Podcast Day, so I just wish everybody a very happy International Podcast Day. Thanks to everybody. This is Catherine O'Brien in Baton Rouge signing out.
Canada.
Matt Kundle, the Sound Off Media Company from Winnipeg, Manitoba, for the last time. So
Texas.
long, Stinktown.
Texas.
Kendall, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. This was really, really insightful, and it's amazing that Riverside can seem like a company like Riverside can seem like such a big company. So to have you just show your face and talk to us lowly podcast producers, we really appreciate you taking the time. This was really, really great, and just thank you for being a part of just a great service. We all love Riverside, and excited to continue to use it.
Well, thank you. I love to hear this. Thanks.
Boston.
Kendall, we're flattered you want to be a super friend. We're going to have the team review that, and we'll have someone get back to you when that decision.
I'll send my 4-part request. Yeah, we'll get to, yeah.
Touche. But seriously, thank you very much, Kendall. It was great. David Yaz, pod617.com, the Boston Podcast Network. Go Sox.
Go Sox and go Tigers for me. I don't realize I didn't plug myself at the beginning. John Gay, Jag Podcast Productions. Easy for me to say here in Detroit, Michigan, where I'm a Boston native, but also rooting for the Tigers. And we'll see what happens to your Phillies, Kendall. If I could, I would send you something from Wawa for coming on today.
Oh, God, don't tell me about Wawa. I love it so much.
Pass the scrapple.
Thanks for listening to the podcast Super Friends. For a transcript of the show or to connect with the Super Friends, go to the show notes of this episode or go to soundoff.network.